The three moons of Eldoria aligned in the night sky, forming a perfect triangle. Their light combined into a single beam that struck the highest tower of the Crystal Palace. The entire structure resonated in response, humming with ancient power. Throughout, the realm flowers bloomed out of seasoned trees bent toward the palace, and waters stilled in anticipation. The alignment had begun. Inside the palace, healers worked frantically to repair the damage from the Void Stalker attack. The injured were tended, to the defenses reinforced, but the greatest concern remained the memory crystal. Its network of cracks had stabilized, but it flickered weakly, threatening to fade completely. Without it, the ceremony would be impossible. The knowledge of countless generations lost, Kira stood in her chamber as attendants prepared her for the ceremony. Her ceremonial attire was unlike anything she had ever worn, a living garment that shifted between solid and light, responding to her emotions and thoughts. Either flowed around her like water, yet provided protection stronger than armor. The star maps on her skin glowed through the fabric, creating patterns that matched the constellations, visible above Eldoria Nova, perched nearby, watching with solemn eyes. The small dragon had been uncharacteristically quiet since the battle. The mental images she shared were fragmented concerns about the ceremony, the damaged crystal, and something deeper, a worry about what would happen to Kira afterward. Princess Lyra Lee entered the chamber, dismissing the attendants with a gesture. She too was dressed for the ceremony. Her gown seemed made of moonlight, constantly shifting and flowing around her form. Her silver hair was adorned with living flowers that changed color with her emotions. "The alignment window is narrow," she said. "The memory crystal weakens. We must begin soon." Kira nodded, though anxiety coursed through her. What exactly will happen during this ceremony? The memories I recovered are unclear on this point. The princess approached, taking Kira's hands in her own. "During the ceremony, our life forces will join temporarily, allowing the cosmic energy of alignment to flow through us and into the bridge between worlds. We will become conduits, channeling power to repair the connection. We will then each take our proper positions as guardians of our respective realms." There was something the princess wasn't saying. Kira could feel it. "What else? What aren't you telling me?" Princess Lyra Lee hesitated, pain evident in her eyes. "The union requires balance, one of Earth, one of Eldoria. But afterward, both must return to their birth realm to maintain the bridge from both sides." Understanding dawned on Kira. I would have to return to Earth to leave Eldoria. After the ceremony? Yes, the princess confirmed. The bridge must be anchored on both sides, one ruler for each realm, connected but separate. This has been the way since the beginning. "But my memories?" Kira protested. "I just recovered them. My understanding of who I am. Would I lose all that again?" "No," Elder Valara said, entering the chamber. "You would retain your full awareness, your connection to both worlds, but your primary existence would be on Earth. While Princess Lyra Lee remains here, on Eldoria, you would be conscious guardians of the bridge, meeting only during alignments once every 1,000 years. 1,000 years, Kira whispered, the weight of immortality suddenly pressing upon her. Would I age normally? The elder shook her head. Once the ceremony is complete, your aging will slow dramatically, as will the princess. You will live to see the next alignment, and the one after that, for as long as the bridge requires guardians. Captain Lyra appeared at the doorway. The preparations are complete, your highnesses. The memory crystal has been stabilized enough for the ceremony, but we must hurry. They proceeded through the palace, which had been transformed for the occasion. The crystal walls pulsed with light in rhythm with the alignment energy. Eldorians lined the corridors, bowing deeply as Kira passed, many reaching out to touch the hem of her garment as if for blessing. Kira could feel their hope, their relief at seeing the ceremony about to take place. The procession reached the highest tower where the ceremony would be performed. The circular room had been arranged with the memory crystal at its center, brought up from the ancestral chamber. A ring of elders stood around it, channeling their energy to keep it stable, despite Their efforts' cracks still spread across its surface. The combined light of the three moons streamed through an opening in the ceiling, bathing the crystal in multicolored radiance. Astral, the great dragon, circled above the tower, his massive wings creating patterns in the air that seemed to stabilize the energy Nova flew to join him. The two dragons beginning an ancient flight pattern that traced sacred geometries in the sky. Elder Valara took her position as ceremony leader, standing before the memory crystal. Her voice rang out clear and powerful. For 10,000 years, the worlds of Earth and Eldoria have been connected by the cosmic bridge. For 10,000 years, guardians have maintained this sacred bond. Today, as the moons align, we witness the renewal of this connection. The joining of royal bloodlines. The continuation of the cycle that preserves both realms. Kira and Princess Lyrelei were positioned on opposite sides of the memory crystal. The light from the moons intensified. As they reached perfect alignment, the crystal between them pulsed desperately, its cracks widening. "Something is wrong," Elder Valara said, concern evident in her voice. "The damage is too severe. The crystal cannot channel the alignment energy." Nova dove down from above, landing on Kira's shoulder. The dragon projected a clear thought. "There is another way, but the cost is higher." Before Kira could ask what this meant, a tremendous explosion rocked the tower. The Void Stalkers had returned there. Ships appeared in the sky above, launching attacks against the palace defenses. Astral roared in challenge, engaging the largest vessel. Captain Lyra and her guards rushed to defensive positions. Princess Lyrelei looked at Elder Valara in alarm. "We cannot delay." The alignment peaks in moments. The memory crystal fractured further, a large piece breaking away and disintegrating into dust. The elders cried out in dismay, their centuries of knowledge beginning to fade. Kira felt something pulling at her soul. The bridge between worlds calling to her in desperation. She could sense it now, a vast structure of light and energy, spanning dimensions connecting Earth and Eldoria. It was unraveling, threads breaking one by one. As each thread snapped, pain shot through her body. The connection was dying, and somehow she was dying with it. Nova pressed against her cheek. The dragon's thoughts urgent. "You are the memory crystal now. All the knowledge, all the power. It was always within you." The crystal was only a repository. Understanding flooded through Kira. The pendant that had fused with her skin, the star maps etched across her body, the genetic memories restored to her mind. She was not just a guardian of the bridge. She was the bridge incarnate. Kira stepped into the center of the room where the memory crystal continued to crumble. "I know what to do," she said with sudden certainty. Princess Lyrelei reached for her. "No, Kira." The risk. But Kira was already acting, following instincts buried deep. Within her genetic memory, she raised her hands above her head. The star maps on her skin blazed with light so bright that everyone had to look away. She began to sing in a language older than Eldoria, older than Earth, a language of pure creation. The remaining fragments of the memory crystal responded, rising into the air, circling her like planets around a sun. The alignment energy from the three moons intensified, focusing directly on her. She became a conduit, a living vessel for power beyond comprehension. Outside the void, stalkers pressed their attack. Their weapons struck the palace shields, creating ripples of darkness. Astral and the Eldorian defenders fought valiantly but were outnumbered. The enemy sensed the ceremony was vulnerable and concentrated their assault. Inside the tower, Kira continued her transformation. The fabric of reality bent around her as she channeled more and more of the alignment energy. Nova remained with her, the small dragon's form growing as she absorbed some of the overflow power. Princess Lyrelei watched in awe and fear, understanding what Kira was attempting. Instead of using the memory crystal as a conduit, Kira was becoming the conduit herself, taking the entire burden of the bridge renewal into her own being. "You cannot contain this much power," Elder Valara warned. "The strain will destroy you." Kira barely heard her voice now. She was expanding beyond her physical form, experiencing both worlds simultaneously. She could see Earth spinning in, space its people unaware of the cosmic drama unfolding. She could see Eldoria, its magical essence pulsing in harmony with her heartbeat. She could see the bridge between them, a magnificent structure of light and mathematics. And she could see the damage centuries of strain attacks from the void, the natural entropy of separation. The bridge was failing, not just in one place, but everywhere. Repairing, it would require more than a temporary joining of royal bloodlines. It would require a permanent anchor. Princess Lyrelei understood before the others. She rushed to Kira's side, taking her hand. "You mean to become the bridge itself?" she said, tears flowing down her cheeks, to transform completely. Kira nodded, unable to speak as the power coursed through her. "It is the only way. The crystal is too damaged, the alignment energy too strong. Someone must channel it permanently." The princess pressed her forehead against Kira's. "Then I will join you. We will anchor the bridge together. One in each realm, but connected always." Before the elders could stop them, the princess began to sing, harmonizing with Kira's otherworldly music. Their voices twined together, creating patterns that... The ancestral chamber lay deep beneath the crystal palace, accessed through a spiraling path that descended into the living heart of Eldoria. As Kira followed Captain Lyra down this path, she noticed the walls changing, becoming more organic, less crystalline, more like veins and tissue than mineral. The air grew warmer, filled with a subtle pulse like a giant heartbeat. Nova remained unusually quiet on her shoulder. The small dragon had been her constant companion and guide, but now seemed reluctant to speak. Kira sensed the creature was troubled by what lay ahead. "This is the oldest part of Eldoria," Captain Lyra explained as they continued their descent. "These chambers existed before our people built the palace, before we even called ourselves Eldorians. They passed ancient murals depicting beings of light descending from the stars, joining with the primal forces of a young planet. The images moved slightly, as if breathing, following Kira with their eyes as she passed the chamber. They finally entered was vast and spherical. Its walls pulsed with bioluminescence, creating patterns that reminded Kira of neural networks or star maps. At the center stood a single crystal pillar, rising from floor to ceiling. It glowed with an inner light that seemed to respond to Kira's presence, growing brighter as she approached. Princess Lyrelei waited beside the crystal, along with a circle of robed elders. Their faces were partially hidden, but their eyes all focused on Kira with intensity. Astral, the great dragon, occupied one side of the chamber. His massive form curled around the perimeter. "The ritual of remembrance is sacred," Princess Lyrelei said, her voice echoing strangely in the chamber. "Few undergo it in their lifetime. Most Eldorians are born with their ancestral memories intact, but your human side required protection. Your memories were stored here in the memory crystal until you were ready." One of the elders stepped forward, a female with ancient eyes and hair that floated around her head like a silver cloud. "I am Elder Valara," she said. "I was present at your birth. I helped your mother conceal your true nature. I placed the protective enchantments that allowed you to live as human." She approached Kira, studying her face. "You have her eyes." Kira felt drawn to the elder, feeling a connection she couldn't explain. "Are you my grandmother?" A smile touched the elder's lips. "In your terms, yes. Your mother's mother, though our family structures are more complex than on Earth." The preparations began. Attendants placed a circlet on Kira's head, made of living metal that adjusted itself to fit perfectly. Princess Lyrelei and Elder Valara took positions on either side of her. Nova flew reluctantly from her shoulder to join Astral. "You must touch the memory crystal," Elder Valara instructed. "It holds not just your personal memories, but the collective knowledge of your Eldorian lineage. Thousands of years of genetic memory." "Will it hurt?" Kira asked, her voice small in the vast chamber. The princess took her hand. "It will overwhelm at first, but we are here to guide you, with both women supporting her." Kira approached the crystal pillar. It pulsed faster as she drew near, almost eagerly. She hesitated for only a moment, then placed her palm against its surface. The effect was immediate and explosive. Light erupted from the point of contact, flowing up Kira's arm, across her body, and into her mind. She gasped as memories not her own flooded her consciousness. She was no longer just Kira Mason, quantum physicist from Earth. She was many people across many lifetimes. She remembered being born on Eldoria 1,000 years ago to the royal line, remembered growing studying the cosmic sciences, remembered traveling to Earth in the body of a different woman, falling in love with a human man, having a daughter, then returning to Eldoria, leaving that daughter behind with protective enchantments. She remembered doing this again and again across centuries, each time being born on one world, living there, then crossing to the other world, continuing the cycle. Each life, strengthening the bridge between realms. Most shocking of all, she remembered Princess Lyrelai, not as a stranger, but as someone she had known in many lifetimes, sometimes as family, sometimes as more. She remembered promises made standing before this very crystal millennia ago. When the flood of memories finally subsided, Kira found herself on her knees, the princess and elder still supporting her. The chamber had gone silent, even the dragons watching intently. "Now you understand," Princess Lyrelai said softly. Kira nodded slowly. "I am the bridge walker, the one who lives in both worlds, the keeper of the connection." She looked up at Lyrelai. "I have done this before. Many times Elder Valara helped her to stand in different forms. Yes, the cycle has continued for thousands of years, but this time is different. The bridge weakens faster than ever before. The void grows stronger, threatening to separate our worlds permanently. This alignment is our last chance." Kira turned to Princess Lyrelai, understanding dawning. "The wedding. Am not just a guest, am I?" The princess shook her head. "No, Kira. You are not the guest. You are the groom." The words hung in the chamber, echoing slightly. The elders murmured among themselves, some nodding, others looking concerned. Astral rumbled deep in his chest, a sound that vibrated through the floor. "According to prophecy and cosmic law," Elder Valara explained, "only the union of royal bloodlines can maintain the bridge during alignment. Your Eldorian heritage is royal through your mother. Princess Lyrelai represents the current royal line. The ceremony requires you to bind your life force with hers. This union will channel the energy needed to repair and strengthen the bridge between worlds, but I'm a woman," Kira said, confusion evident in her voice. The princess smiled gently. "Gender matters little in Eldorian unions, particularly for this ceremony. It is the energetic signatures that must align, not physical forms. In fact, your dual nature makes you uniquely suited. Your earth energy balanced with your Eldorian heritage creates the perfect conduit." The implications were overwhelming. Kira paced the chamber, trying to process what she had learned. "I was brought here to marry you, to become what exactly your title would be," Royal Consort Elder Valara said. "But your role would be far greater. You would be guardian of the bridge, protector of both realms. You would have powers and responsibilities beyond any normal ruler." "And if I refuse?" Kira asked, though she already suspected the answer. Princess Lyrelai looked stricken. "The bridge will collapse. Our worlds will drift apart forever." Nova flew to Kira, settling once more on her shoulder. The dragon shared mental images of Earth and Eldoria, connected by glowing threads. Then the threads snapping worlds, spinning away from each other. Both planets growing dark. Eldoria, withering without. Earth stabilizing influence. Earth experiencing catastrophic natural disasters without Eldoria's subtle energetic support. "I need time to think," Kira said. "Of course," Princess Lyrelai nodded. "The ceremony is not until tomorrow at the height of alignment. You should rest and consider what you have learned." Back in her chambers, Kira tried to sort through her newly restored memories. They felt both foreign and familiar, like books she had read long ago, suddenly remembered in vivid detail. She now understood why the palace had seemed familiar, why she had known how to operate the ship, why the language and customs felt natural. Nova remained with her, providing silent comfort as Kira processed the revelation. The small dragon eventually broke the silence. "You have always known this was your destiny," the dragon conveyed. Each life you live prepares you for the next. Each cycle brings you closer to this moment. Kira looked out at the 3 moons of Eldoria, hanging in the night sky. I don't remember agreeing to this in any lifetime. The dragon sent her an image of herself from 1,000 years ago standing before the memory crystal making a vow. You did agree, but each time you are reborn, you must choose again. The choice must be freely made or the bridge. Cannot hold. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. A servant entered bowing low. The void. Stalkers have breached our outer defenses, the servant reported. Princess Lorelei requests your presence in the war room immediately. The war room was a hive of activity. Eldorian commanders moved holographic representations of troops and defenses on a 3-dimensional map of the realm. Princess Lorelei stood at the center, issuing orders, her usual serene demeanor replaced by fierce determination. Captain Lyra stood at attention nearby. The princess looked up as Kira entered. They seek to prevent the ceremony, she explained. They have launched a full-scale attack earlier than we anticipated. The alignment is still hours away. We must hold them back until then. Why do they want to stop this so badly? Kira asked. Watching the holographic displays show enemy ships approaching, Elder Valara, who had joined them, sighed. The Void Stalkers believe separation is the natural order, that worlds should evolve independently without influence. They fear what they cannot control, and a unified bridge between realms controlled by Eldoria and Earth would be beyond their control. On the display, Kira could see the Void Stalkers advancing. Their ships were black, absorbing light rather than reflecting it, leaving trails of darkness behind them. They moved with purpose, heading directly for the Crystal Palace. We have prepared for this, Princess Lorelei said. The palace defenses are strong, but I fear they may have infiltrators already within our realm. As if confirming her fears, alarms sounded throughout the palace. Nova hissed, sensing danger. Astral, who had been monitoring from above, roared a warning that echoed through the crystalline structure. They are here. Captain Lyra announced enemy forces have teleported directly into the lower levels. They moved toward the ancestral chamber. The memory crystal princess, Lorelei, turned to Kira, the elven court. The crystal palace of Eldoria rose before them like a mountain made of light. Towers spiraled upward, connecting with floating platforms that drifted among the clouds. The entire structure seemed alive, pulsing with energy that responded to the movements of those within. As their procession approached, the main gates opened, silently revealing a path lined with guards in living armor. Kira felt eyes watching her from every direction. The royal guards formed a protective circle around her, with Captain Lyra at the front and Zephyr close behind. Nova remained perched on her shoulder, occasionally whispering observations about the palace and its inhabitants. They passed gardens where plants moved with obvious intelligence, flowers, turning to watch them past trees bowing their branches in what appeared to be reverence. Water features defied gravity, forming complex patterns in midair as they walked by. The people they passed were all like Zephyr, tall and graceful, with pointed ears and eyes that changed color with their emotions. Their skin had a subtle luminescence that grew stronger in shadowed areas. Many stopped and stared as Kira passed, some bowing deeply, others making strange gestures with their hands. The whispers followed them like a wave. The Star Child returns. The bridge will be renewed. Inside the palace, the crystal walls were transparent in some places, opaque in others, changing as needed for privacy or view. The floors beneath their feet lit up with each step, leaving trails of light that slowly faded. They ascended a spiral staircase that appeared to be made of solid light, yet felt firm underfoot. Finally, they reached a vast, circular chamber at the top of the tallest tower. The Sky Throne Room, announced Captain Lyra, her voice formal. We bring the Earth visitor as requested, Your Highness. At the center of the room stood a figure bathed in light from above. Princess Lorelei was taller than the others, her silver hair flowing like liquid moonlight down her back. Her features were sharp yet delicate, with high cheekbones and full lips. Her eyes were her most striking feature, shifting through all the colors of an aurora. As she looked at Kira, for a moment no one moved. Then the princess rushed forward, ignoring all protocol, and embraced Kira tightly. Tears flowed down her cheeks, glowing like tiny stars. "You came," she whispered, her voice breaking with emotion. "I feared you would not remember or would refuse the call." Before Kira could respond, a rumbling sound filled the chamber. From an opening in the ceiling descended an enormous dragon. Its scales shimmered with all the colors of the cosmos, and its wings spanned the width of the room. This was no small creature like Nova, but a being of immense power and presence. "Astral," the princess said, stepping back but keeping hold of Kira's hands. "She has returned to us." The massive dragon lowered its head, examining Kira with ancient eyes that held galaxies within them. Nova chirped excitedly, flying from Kira's shoulder to hover before the great dragon. They communicated in a series of sounds and mental impressions too complex for Kira to follow, though she caught fragments about destiny and awakening. Princess Lyrelay led Kira to a private chamber, adjacent to the throne room, dismissing all others except the dragons. Zephyr bowed and departed along with Captain Lyra and the guards. Once alone, the princess studied Kira with intense interest. "The transformation has begun earlier than expected," she observed, touching Kira's face gently. "Your Eldorian heritage emerges already. Your mother would be proud." "My mother?" Kira asked, finding her voice at last. "My mother was from Earth. She was a botanist who died when I was young." Lyrelay smiled sadly. That was her Earth identity. Yes, she was sent there for a scientific mission to study Earth's biodiversity, but she was born here in the Crystal Towers. She was my cousin and the royal geneticist. The princess guided Kira to a viewing platform that overlooked the entirety of Eldoria forests, stretched to the horizon, interspersed with cities that seemed to grow from the land rather than being built upon it. The sky above held 3 moons of different colors and star configurations unlike any visible from Earth. "Your mother fell in love with an Earth scientist and astronomer who glimpsed our world through what your people call the Pleiades star cluster," Lyrelay continued. "They conceived a child, you, a bridge between worlds. This was not planned, but when it happened, the seers recognized it as the fulfillment of ancient prophecy." Kira touched her pendant, which now glowed constantly in this world. "And this, a royal birthright," Lyrelay explained. "It contains genetic memory and protective enchantments. It kept your Eldorian nature dormant until the time was right, allowing you to live safely on Earth during the Great Nebula War, the war that claimed both your parents." Throughout the day, Kira was introduced to various members of the court. Each reacted to her with a mixture of awe, reverence, and curiosity. She was measured for new attire by attendants who whispered excitedly as they worked. The clothing they brought was unlike anything she had seen even on Eldorians. It was elaborate, with patterns that seemed to move and shift with light, constructed of materials that felt like liquid silk, yet strong as armor. Nova remained by her side, explaining court customs and identifying important figures. A tall, stern woman was the war. Minister A, small, cheerful man, was the keeper of knowledge. Each looked at her with knowing eyes that made her increasingly uncomfortable. "Why am I being treated this way?" Kira asked Nova when they were briefly alone. The dragon hesitated before answering. "You are more important than you know. The bridge between worlds weakens. Without renewal, both Earth and Eldoria will drift apart forever, existing in separate dimensions, never to connect again. Many here have waited their entire lives for your return." At evening, a feast was held in the Great Hall. The room was filled with Eldorian nobility, all curious to see the half-blood from Earth. Kira was seated beside Princess Lyrelay at the high table. The food was strange yet delicious fruits that changed flavor with each bite, meats that seemed to melt away, leaving pure energy behind, drinks that sparkled with tiny lights. During the meal, Kira noticed the elaborate preparations throughout the palace. Flowers and crystals arranged in specific patterns, ceremonial objects being positioned with mathematical precision. She caught snippets of conversation about the alignment, the renewal and the union of worlds it was, during the ceremonial toast that had happened. Princess Lyrelay raised a crystal goblet, filled with glowing liquid, to the renewal of the bridge. She proclaimed, To the union that will save both our worlds as everyone drank. Kira's pendant suddenly flared with blinding light. She gasped as energy coursed through her body. The room fell silent. As everyone watched in awe, patterns appeared on Kira's skin, glowing lines forming complex maps and symbols. She recognized star constellations, the path between Earth and Eldoria, ancient runes that somehow she could read. The awakening has begun, whispered. Someone nearby, Princess Lyrale, took Kira's hand, steadying her as the light slowly faded, though the markings remained visible on her skin, glowing softly. It is time you knew more, she said, her voice solemn. After the feast, we will talk later in the privacy of the princess' private chambers. Lyrale revealed the first truth. Kira sat stunned as the princess explained. Your mother was not just any scientist. She was tasked with finding a way to strengthen the star bridge between our worlds. The Aita bridge exists naturally but weakens over time. Without renewal, it will collapse, cutting our worlds off from each other forever. The consequences would be devastating for both realms. Earth would lose the subtle energies that power your evolution. Eldoria would lose the stability your world provides. The princess paced the room, her gown shimmering with starlight. For 10,000 years, our worlds have been connected. When the void nearly destroyed Eldoria in ancient times, Earth became our sanctuary. When plagues threatened to wipe out humanity, Eldorian healing energy saved your species. These exchanges happened without your people knowing, through what you call myths and folklore. Lyrale stopped, turning to face Kira directly. Your mother discovered that certain bloodlines on both worlds were compatible. They could create children who embodied both realms. Such children would be living bridges. When she fell in love with your father, it was unexpected, but perhaps fate. The child they conceived would be the strongest bridge ever created. Half Earth, half Eldoria, perfectly balanced. Kira struggled to process this information. But why was I sent to Earth? Why not raise me here? The princess' expression darkened. The void. Stalkers. Those who attacked your ship. They believe separation is natural, that worlds should remain apart. They would have killed you as an infant. The only way to protect you was to hide you on Earth with your Eldorian nature, suppressed until you were old enough to awaken. And now Kira asked, the time of alignment approaches, Lyrale said. The perfect moment to renew the bridge. The wedding you were invited to is the ceremonial component. It symbolizes the reunion of our worlds, but there is much more at stake than mere symbolism. As if on cue, Nova flew into the room with Astral, the great dragon, following through a larger entrance. The dragons exchanged looks, then Astral spoke directly into Kira's mind, his mental voice, deep and ancient. Tomorrow you will undergo the ritual of remembrance. It will restore your full memory and powers. Then you will understand your true purpose here. That night, Kira dreamed of stars forming bridges across vast distances. She saw Earth and Eldoria spinning through space, connected by threads of light that were fraying, growing thin. She saw herself standing between the worlds, hands outstretched, attempting to repair the connection. She woke with tears on her journey to Eldoria. The spacecraft moved through space like a fish through water, bending reality around it rather than pushing against it. Kira watched in wonder as stars and galaxies blurred past the crystal viewports. Zephyr stood at what appeared to be the control center, their long fingers occasionally touching glowing symbols that changed color at their touch. Nova, the small dragon, had made herself comfortable on Kira's shoulder, occasionally chirping information about what they were seeing. Kira found she could understand these communications, though they were more feelings and images than actual words. This vessel is ancient, Nova conveyed through a series of chirps and mental impressions. It was built by the ancestors when the bridge between worlds was strong. What bridge? Kira asked, finding her voice after hours of silent amazement. Zephyr turned their luminescent eyes toward her. The star bridge that connects Earth and Eldoria. It appears only once every 1,000 years. When the cosmic alignment is perfect, without renewal, the connection fades. This journey is possible now because the time of alignment approaches. Kira touched her pendant, feeling it warm under her fingers. Since boarding the ship, she had noticed strange changes in herself. Her senses seemed sharper, colors more vivid, sounds clearer. In the reflective surface of the ship walls, she caught glimpses of herself and noticed a subtle glow to her skin, especially in dimmer light. "Why me?" she asked, finally voicing the question that had been burning in her mind since receiving the invitation. Before Zephyr could answer, alarms sounded throughout the ship. Nova hissed, her scales flaring with light. Zephyr moved with sudden urgency, their normally serene features tightening with concern. "Void stalkers, they have found us," Zephyr communicated. The words appeared directly in Kira's mind, accompanied by images of sleek black ships with predatory shapes. "They hunt those who would strengthen the bridge." Through the viewport, Kira saw them emerging from what looked like tiers in the fabric of space. Dark vessels with red glowing symbols along their hulls. They moved with purpose, clearly heading toward the crystalline ship. Zephyr touched several controls, but the pursuing ships were gaining weapons. Zephyr projected the thought laced with frustration. "Damaged in our passage through the quantum barrier." Something pulled Kira toward the control panel. A memory not her own guiding her hands. She reached out, touching a section of the crystal console that had remained dark. Nova chirped excitedly as Kira's fingers traced patterns across the surface. The panel illuminated, responding to her touch. Symbols appeared, sequences that somehow made sense to her shield. "Harmonics active weapon arrays online," the ship announced in a melodic voice. Zephyr turned to Kira, their eyes wide with surprise. "You carry the royal genetic memory. It should not have awakened so soon." Kira had no time to process this as the first attack came. A beam of red energy struck the shields, making the entire ship shudder. She acted on instinct, hands moving across the controls. The ship responded, diving and weaving through space with newfound agility. Energy beams fired from concealed ports, striking one of the pursuing vessels. More ships appeared, surrounding them. Nova growled, sending a clear mental image. "They want to prevent the wedding at any cost. Too many for us to fight." Zephyr nodded, agreeing with the dragon. "We must reach the emergency jump point." Kira continued defensive measures. For what seemed like hours, Kira worked the controls alongside Zephyr. Their ship took multiple hits, the crystal hull absorbing and dispersing energy, but growing hot with each impact. Finally, Zephyr indicated a swirling anomaly ahead. "The jump point, it will take us directly to Eldoria, but the approach is dangerous." Kira focused on the controls as Nova projected images, helping her understand the complex patterns needed. She felt something unlocking in her mind, knowledge flowing from somewhere deep inside that she hadn't known existed. Her hands moved with increasing confidence as they approached the jump point. A massive blast from the largest enemy ship struck them directly. The ship groaned, crystal surfaces cracking. Zephyr was thrown across the command center. Nova clung to Kira's shoulder, her claws digging in for stability. System failure. Emergency protocols activated. The ship announced jump sequence compromised. They were being pulled into the jump point, but not cleanly. The ship spun wildly as space distorted around them. Kira felt herself stretching and compressing at the same time. Nova pressed against her neck, making soothing sounds, though the dragon's fear was evident. When reality stabilized, they were no longer in open space. The ship was plummeting toward a planet surface covered in vast emerald forests and silver lakes. Zephyr regained their footing, rushing to the controls. Crash landing imminent, they projected. Eldorian wilderness not safe. Primal forces. Kira worked alongside them, trying to stabilize their descent. The ship responded sluggishly, its systems damaged. Trees rushed up to meet them. Enormous trees with trunks wider than buildings and canopies that seemed to touch the clouds. At the last moment, Zephyr activated something that slowed their descent, but not enough to prevent impact. The crash sent Kira flying, despite restraints. Nova somehow managed to stay with her, wrapping wings around her protectively. When they finally stopped moving, the ship was embedded in the ground. Crystal panels cracked and systems failing. "Are you injured?" Zephyr asked, helping Kira to her feet. Surprisingly, she wasn't. The impact should have broken bones, but she felt only bruised. Zephyr examined her with glowing hands. "Your transformation accelerates. The royal blood awakens." Before Kira could ask what this meant, Nova hissed in alarm. "Sound coming." They evacuated the ship, climbing out through a crack in the hull. Outside, Kira gasped. The trees were unlike anything on Earth. Their trunks spiraled upward with bark that glittered like it contained diamonds. Leaves larger than cars shimmered with internal light. The ground beneath her feet seemed to pulse with energy. The sky, air smelled of spices and electricity. Movement caught her eye. The forest around them was coming alive. Not just with creatures, but the plants themselves. Vines slithered across the ground with purpose. Flowers turned toward them like faces. Zephyr pulled Kira behind them, producing a small crystal wand that extended into a staff. The wilds recognize you as foreign, they projected. They will test you. A massive plant rose before them, its center opening like a mouth. Nova flew forward, breathing, a small flame that seemed to bend around Kira's mental direction. The plant recoiled, but more were coming, approaching from all sides. Kira felt something stirring within her. The pendant at her chest grew hot, almost burning. She raised her hands instinctively, and light poured from her fingertips. It was not fire like Nova's, but pure energy. The approaching plants stopped their advance. Blood of Eldoria has returned. The whisper seemed to come from the forest itself, rustling through leaves. Then came anew, sound horns blowing in complex patterns. Zephyr relaxed slightly. The Royal Guard. They have found us. Riders appeared, moving through the trees on creatures that looked like a cross between horses and deer. Their bodies sleek and silver with branching antlers that glowed from within. The riders themselves were tall and graceful, with the same pointed ears Kira had seen in her dreams. They wore armor that appeared to be made from living metal that shifted and moved as they did. The leader dismounted, approaching with caution. Her face was stern but beautiful, with eyes that changed color as Kira watched. "I am Captain Lyra of the Royal Guard," she said, her voice musical yet strong. "You enter Eldoria, unannounced and in violation of approach protocols." Zephyr stepped forward. "It is I, Zephyr, Royal Navigator. I bring the Earthchild as commanded by Princess Lyrelai." The captain's expression changed immediately as she looked at Kira. Her eyes widened, focusing on the pendant. "The Star Child," she whispered, then knelt before Kira. The other guards followed suit. "We have awaited your return for 1,000 years. Your Highness." Kira looked at Zephyr in confusion. "Your identity must remain secret until the palace." Zephyr projected. "The void. Stalkers still hunt, Captain." Lyra rose. "We must move quickly. The princess awaits and the forest grows restless." The alignment approaches. They helped Kira onto one of the silver mounts. Nova perched before her, still alert for danger. As they rode deeper into the forest, Kira noticed the trees seemed to bow toward her. Water in streams flowed upward, defying gravity when she passed. Plants bloomed, suddenly bursting into flower. "The forest recognizes you," Captain Lyra said, watching her closely. "Soon, all of Eldoria will know the lost Royal has returned." The palace gleamed in the distance, a structure of crystal and living plants growing together in impossible harmony. Kira felt a strange sensation as they approached. A feeling of coming home, though she'd never seen this place before. Nova chirped softly. The dragon sent her a clear image. Princess Lyra lay, waiting anxiously, pacing in a room of starlight. And with the image came emotion. The princess was not just waiting for a guest, but for something much more important. Something that would change both their worlds. A message from the stars. The crystal appeared on Kira Mason's desk without warning or sound. It sat there glowing with soft blue light, casting strange shadows across her research papers. The quantum physicist blinked several times to make sure she was not imagining things. No one else was in the lab at this late hour, and the security system showed no breach. Kira reached out her finger, hovering just above the strange object. She had studied unusual phenomena for years at the Stellar Research Institute, but nothing like this had ever happened to her personally. The crystal seemed to pulse as if alive, responding to her proximity. When her skin finally made contact, the surface rippled like water, and a message formed in midair. An invitation. Written in flowing script that somehow she could understand despite never seeing the language before. Princess Lyrelai of the Sylvan Nebula requests your presence at a royal union of worlds. The ceremony will unite our realms forever. Please bring the star pendant. You have 7 Earth days to prepare. Kira touched the pendant that hung around her neck. It was a family heirloom given to her by her grandmother, who claimed it came from someone very special. She had always felt connected to it, in a way she could never explain. The pendant had strange markings similar to the ones now floating before her. The next morning, Kira told her colleague Amber about the crystal and the invitation. Amber frowned with concern, her eyes serious behind her glasses. This sounds dangerous, Amber said, shaking her head. You can't seriously be considering accepting this weird space invitation from who knows where. I know it sounds crazy, Kira admitted, but I feel like I need to go. Like I'm meant to. Amber looked at her friend for a long moment. I can't talk you out of this, can I? Kira smiled apologetically. That night she dreamed of endless forests with trees taller than skyscrapers and leaves that glowed from within. She saw a woman with silver hair and pointed ears walking toward her through mist. The woman reached out and whispered, Kira, come home. The stars have waited long enough. When Kira woke, her pendant was glowing, the same blue light as the crystal. She went to her closet and pulled out an old wooden box that had belonged to her great-grandmother. Inside was a journal bound in leather with yellowed pages that smelled of time. She had never paid much attention to it before, but now something urged her to look through it. Page after page described encounters with beings not of Earth. Her great-grandmother had documented meetings with visitors from beyond the stars. Drawings of ships and strange symbols filled the margins. Then Kira found something that made her heart stop. A photograph tucked between pages showed a woman who looked remarkably like her great-grandmother, standing beside a tall, elegant figure with pointed ears. Around the visitor's neck hung a pendant identical to Kira's. Written below the photo in faded ink were the words, "The debt of stars will be paid when bloodlines reunite." The bridge must hold. Kira spent the next days researching everything she could find about interstellar communication, dimensional travel, and the Sylvan Nebula. She found little concrete information, but many ancient myths across cultures described beings with pointed ears who came from the stars. Some stories mentioned bridges between worlds and royal marriages that sealed cosmic pacts. On the 7th night, as Kira packed a small bag, not really knowing what to bring on an interstellar journey, a sound like wind chimes filled her apartment. Air shimmered in the center of her living room, swirling into a small portal. No larger than a dinner plate, the portal pulsed with energy. Then something flew through. It was a small dragon, no bigger than a cat with scales that shifted colors like opals. Its wings were translucent, catching light like stained glass. The creature circled Kira twice before landing on her coffee table. Its intelligent eyes studied her. Then it made a chirping sound. The dragon dropped something from its mouth, a small star map that showed a path through constellations Kira recognized from her research. The map ended at a cluster she knew as the Seven Sisters. The dragon chirped again, then flew to her window, pawing at the glass as if responding to the dragon's presence. Kira's pendant began to glow brighter than ever before. The light expanded, filling the room, then concentrating into a doorway of pure energy. The dragon flew to Kira's shoulder, settling there like it belonged. Through the doorway, Kira could see what appeared to be the interior of a vessel with walls of some crystalline substance that caught and reflected light in rainbow patterns. She hesitated only a moment. Everything in her scientific background told her this was impossible, but everything in her heart told her it was meant to be. With the dragon perched on her shoulder and her pendant glowing against her chest, Kira stepped through the portal into whatever destiny awaited her beyond. The last thing she saw of her apartment was the crystal invitation dissolving into sparkles of light. Inside the vessel, a figure stood with their back turned, tall and slender, dressed in what appeared to be living fabric that shifted like wind on water. The figure turned slowly, revealing a face of otherworldly beauty, neither male nor female, but something else entirely. Their skin had a subtle luminescence, and their eyes were solid, blue without pupil or white. I am Zephyr, the figure said without moving their lips, the words simply appearing in Kira's mind. I will guide you to Eldoria. The princess awaits your journey, begins now small. One of two worlds. The dragon on Kira's shoulder made a sound almost like purring. She reached up to touch its warm scales, feeling an immediate connection. I think I'll call you Nova. Kira whispered. The dragon nuzzled her cheek in response. As the vessel hummed to life, lifting away from Earth through dimensions Kira had never imagined existed, she noticed something strange. Her hands seemed to glow faintly in the ship's dim light, and when Nova made those chirping sounds again, she realized with a start that she could understand them. The dragon was saying home at last. Zephyr watched this exchange with interest, making no comment, but the air around them filled with musical notes that somehow conveyed approval. The stars outside the vessel windows streaked past as they accelerated beyond anything possible with Earth technology. Kira felt both terrified and more alive than she had ever been. The ancient journal, her strange dreams, the invitation, all of it was leading to something beyond her understanding. But one thing was becoming clear with every passing moment. This journey was not just about attending someone else's wedding. It was about discovering who she truly was.